Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so I'm here today with the Virgo archetype video. Yes, it is Virgo season, so with that, happy birthday to all of you solar Virgos out there. But for the purpose of this video today, what I am going to be doing is I am going to be explaining the sign or the archetype of Virgo, followed by your Virgo house within your natal birth chart, and also followed by looking at your Chiron sign as well as your Chiron house, and finishing up by explaining the 6th house within astrology. Yes, Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, but some astrologers like to associate the minor planet being Chiron with the sign of Virgo. Other astrologers do also associate Chiron with Sagittarius, but I'm more on the Virgo side of the argument, so you'll see why throughout the video. But before we do get into this video today, what I want to know is if you have any planets in Virgo. Do you not have any planets in Virgo? What planets are going on in your 6th house? Where is your Chiron? So by sign and house placement, all these things, let us know in the comment section. And also, let's not forget, the Virgo season book is now available for a digital download. I am going to put a link to the book in the description box below, but let's just take a moment to admire the front cover by Fanula. It is absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. I'll just say here, for this book, you're going to get information on Virgo, of course, your Virgo house, more information on it. You're going to get more information on Chiron. Okay, you're also going to get more information on Chiron retrograde in the natal birth chart and also during transit. And interceptions too. Virgo and Pisces intercepted is in this book too. So there's a lot more to be shared and seen within the book. So if you want to pick up a copy, description box. Alright then, so with all of those introductions out of the way, let's do this! Now, for more information all about archetypes, then please be sure to check out my introduction video. But in a nutshell, an archetype is a primitive mental image derived from the collective unconscious. And when it comes to the sign of Virgo, the mental image associated with this sign is what looks like the letter M with a little loop at the end. And this letter M can stand for the word maiden. And what maiden means is an unmarried girl or young woman. But if you do look at that little loop very closely, it kind of looks like a female crossing her legs, therefore representing virginity, maidenhood, purity, virtue. However, if we are to associate Virgo with being the sign of the Virgin, well, according to the ancestors, virgin meant not married or not belonging to a man. So this woman who was one in herself. And apparently the word virgin derives from the Latin root meaning strength, force and skill. So if we are to really reflect on this for just a moment, could it be suggested that the sign of Virgo signifies one's ability to belong to oneself? I mean, if you really do think about it, as soon as you are born, so looking at the 1st house stuff, what happens? Well, the 7th house stuff, opposite, the house opposite the 1st house, it is already imprinted onto you anyways. But how so? Well, if you take a look at your birth certificate, for example, that certificate in itself is already saying, you individual, you belong to the government. You must abide by the laws of the land. Therefore suggesting that this certificate, it automatically binds you to Earth, to other people. Keeping in mind that Libra and the 7th house is represented with contracts and agreements. And naturally, marriage is the same thing, and Libra and the 7th house stuff rules over marriage. And it's that marriage certificate which again, it binds you to not only another person, but also to the laws of the government of the land. So could it be suggested here that the sign of Virgo, it's the sign that shows us how somewhat pure we are within our own birthright? Sort of like that story from the Garden of Eden, whenever Adam and Eve were just waltzing around in their birthday suits. Next thing you know, Eve betrays God and shame is instantly placed upon them. Then what do? They put on their clothes to cover up their bodies. But yet, within their flesh, they were perfectly and beautifully made. However, not only does this symbol signify virginity, well, it also signifies the harvest of the reaping of grain, whereby which food was gathered and stored for the winter. Therefore, it's Virgo that shows us the importance of collecting that which serves us and cutting off that which no longer serves us. We basically begin to assess our actions and deal with the consequences of our labor thus far. Before we do go any further into the sign of Virgo, let's actually take this a step back to assess the sign of Leo, because we want to be able to identify where we are coming from. Virgo season comes after Leo season, and what Leo essentially shows us is how to embrace who we are authentically. We basically become more consciously aware of the things we enjoy, how we like to have fun and play. We discover qualities about ourselves that make us feel special, and so we take pride in these very things. It's a season that really urges us to feel confident about our creations and our talents, whilst also appreciating that others bring their own creations and characteristics to the table as well. Leo is a sign of personal dignity and appreciation for the self. It's a season of expressing ourselves without judgment or fear, and by doing so, we can discover activities that inspire us. We can also discover activities that entertain us and really grab our attention and focus. And we also learn about things that get our creativity juices flowing and what brings us joy and pleasure and just overall happiness. But ultimately, it is Leo season that focuses our attention on our vitality, our energy levels, as well as our inner child that is just screaming to come out to play in the field of life. But as we approach Virgo season, the dialogue changes. It changes quite a bit, because what Virgo does is Virgo analyzes and measures the energy so far. So for example, during Leo season, did you party too much? Did you maybe let your inner child run wild, resulting in some scenarios and situations to clean up? Well, you know what? If you did, Virgo season is the perfect time to do just that. Keeping in mind here, folks, that Virgo is a mutable sign, and so we are in a reassessing stage once again within the cycle. But it is through this reflection and this reassessment that we are encouraged to clean up our act. So take your energy levels here for an example. How much sleep are you getting each night? What time do you go to bed? What time do you wake up? What food are you eating? How much water are you drinking? What is your diet like? What exercise do you do? Are you just eating Cheetos and donuts every day, yet wondering why you're feeling sluggish or why you have anxiety? Yeah, diet, you see. It impacts even our mental health. And it is the sign of Virgo that shows us this interconnectedness overall when it comes to the body and the mind. But not only that, what's your work life, social life balance like? Do you, for example, just overwork yourself without a proper rest or break? Or do you just say, fuck it, I'm gonna go out every single night this week and I'm gonna drink without a single care or thought towards work at all? It's these types of questions that many people don't really like to face. Is it any wonder that Virgo can be seen as a picky or mundane sign? But what we might cease to realize is that it's these types of questions that truly go a long way if we are to live sustainable, self-fulfilling, and satisfying lives. See, it's Leo season that represents the sustainment of life. For example, children, right? So the 5th house, Leo being associated with children in that regard, children are a way of us sustaining life. However, it is Virgo season that actually puts all of this into practice. I mean, there's no point in having a baby with your partner and then just sort of sitting back without a single care in the world. That would simply result in neglect or rejection, meaning that you have to physically attend to that baby's needs. You must think about its health, its nutrition, its day-to-day development as that baby grows, provide finances for the baby, resources, materials for the baby, and so on. Therefore, it is Virgo that switches our focus to how we function or operate on a daily basis, where we become aware of how these things can benefit us as well as others in the long run. And Virgo is also a sign of preparation. So keeping on the baby example here, before a mother gives birth, well, what has to be prepared? For example, is there a birth plan? Do they know if they're having a boy or a girl? Where does the mother work, and what is the maternity leave pay like? Does the mother or father have a cot? Do they have clothes, blankets, pacifiers, bibs, and so on? So looking here at the entire preparation process of something. Could be a wedding, for example, or it could be a party, could be a social event or a business meeting, whatever it is. Virgo is about preparing for that event or occasion. I could go on and on and on, but this right here is Virgo energy, covering all the basics. Furthermore, Virgo is a sign of organization in that regard as well. So how do you plan out your day? Do you stick to specific time schedules? Do you create a certain system that works best for you? Is your office desk nice and organized, for example? Or is your room a complete mess? Or maybe are there clothes just sitting in your closet that you have not worn for months and you just cannot stand looking at them anymore? Basically, folks, we learn from the archetype of Virgo that we all have different time structures within a set time structure. Set time structure, of course, being 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we can recognize that each person is going to manage their time differently according to their day-to-day tasks, duties, and capabilities. Now, like I said, Virgo is a mutable sign, meaning that Virgo is adaptable, adjustable, and open to change. But Virgo is also an earth sign, meaning that Virgo is connected with the physical world, such as materials, work, money, and the body. And like I said earlier, Virgo can represent the interconnectedness between the body and the mind. So looking at both the physical and mental health here. Also keeping in mind furthermore that Virgo is ruled by Mercury, that is really a planet of thought and intellect. But with this being the earth side of Mercury, we notice the connection between the body and the mind. And we also notice this side of Mercury that is more rational, it's more introspective, it's more analytical, and also the need with this side of Mercury to dissect information and then put that information into practical use. And you do notice with Virgos how they do tend to live in their heads, trying to analyze what was just said or what they just learned. Though, as most Virgos may know, this can be both a blessing as well as a curse. However, it is still this sign that does an amazing job, has this amazing ability to seek and figure out what is wrong or out of place so that things can be fixed, mended, corrected, and cleaned up. And this right here, folks, is what makes Virgo a sign of continuous discrimination, as well as having discrete critiquing skills. So using the power of the mind as a way to break things down in order to arrive to some well-defined practical advice and solutions. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to play some clips that I think can be associated with the sign of Virgo. So following on from this, then let's actually address the Virgo house within your natal birth chart. It is the Virgo house that will then show you where you can come up with a practical system or method that really works best for you. It is then an area of your life where you learn how to organize your time. For example, if you have the sign of Virgo ruling your 4th house, you might be highly efficient or organized at home, where everything has its particular place. You just know how you like things and where things should be. Or if you have the sign of Virgo ruling your 10th house, you might be very specific about the type of reputation you would like to gain or be known for, very particular of the information that you share with the public. However, it is also within the Virgo house or area of your life where you might criticize yourself for not organizing your time or for being more efficient or productive in accordance with your standards. For example, you might just really hone in or focus on what you did wrong or incorrectly. For example, if you have Virgo ruling your 1st house, you might focus on that tiny little spot on your chin instead of just learning to leave it alone. And then what you do is you might pick at it and then it just makes it worse. Or if you have the sign of Virgo ruling your 7th house, you might attract a type of partner who just criticizes you in a relationship, or you might actually criticize your partner in the relationship. Could be over the smallest of things, you know, like your partner's posture, for example, or how they drink their coffee. You know, they might slurp and it's like really, it's annoying and gross. Also remember here though that criticism and having standards can be really beneficial, and it doesn't have to be all bad. Take for example, you having Virgo ruling your 3rd house. Maybe you've made a few different spelling mistakes or typos in that essay for school that you've been writing. And what happens is that the teacher makes you aware of these mistakes or these spelling typos. And so from that feedback that you receive from your teacher, you'll be able to know moving forward how to spell certain words. Of course, there's a way to make others aware of their mistakes though, okay? I mean, a teacher making you feel stupid or making you feel dumb is not the best way to go. But keep in mind that our sensitivity levels to such things can also play a part as well. I mean, one person, they might see this as a personal attack on their intelligence, whilst another person, they might actually see this as a true benefit to their intelligence. Though still, it is within your Virgo house that we can feel slightly insecure and self-critical, resulting in us becoming aware, well, of potential pitfalls, further resulting in us becoming complacent and finding it difficult to feel content, also possibly resulting in procrastination. And whilst yes, this can lead to our work being really, really well thought out, where there is a lot being put into that work, well, there is of course the other side of this that can become quite dull and a bit tense, which is why it is essentially rather important for us not to become too wound up within our Virgo house, because oh my goodness, when we do, we can become stressed out, worried, anxious, we can overthink, we can just exhaust ourselves or just wear ourselves out and have a burnout. Therefore, it is really important for us not to overextend ourselves within our Virgo house and to pay attention to our body and our health in correlation with the amount of work that we do. Though what does it mean to have a planet within the sign of Virgo? Well, of course, naturally, it does depend on the planet itself, but with that specific planet being placed into this sign that is highly analytical and critical, well, it can result in this planet becoming sharply focused and efficient. For example, if you have Mars in Virgo, this can suggest that you will be focused when it comes to your energy levels. You will be efficient when it comes to your actions. Let's say you have Mercury within the sign of Virgo. You may have a sharply focused mind and way of communicating. You will dissect the information that you're learning and you will use your words with discrimination. Or let's say you have Venus within the sign of Virgo. Well, this can suggest that in relationships you will be an efficient partner. You can come up with efficient methods to help improve the quality of your relationship, for example. Then again, what if you do have a stellium within the sign of Virgo, meaning you have 4 or more planets within the sign of Virgo? Of course, again, it does depend on each planet themselves, but with this high volume of Virgo energy, it might suggest a person who is highly hardworking, practical, efficient, pretty level-headed, helpful, organized, and prepared. However, it could also suggest someone who is a major worrywart, who freaks out over the smallest things, who can become rather anxious, highly nervous, someone who overthinks everything. Right, so let's actually now move on to your Chiron placement, okay? Now, Chiron is today considered to be a minor planet. It's a planet of great healing, just as Virgo is also a sign of great healing, okay? And Chiron is the body that ultimately bridges the gap between the inner and outer planets. So what it does is it orbs the sun right between Saturn and Uranus. And what this is really showing us is really how Chiron's function is about integration. See, it's Chiron within your natal birth chart that really seeks to restructure and redefine that which already exists in order for you to figure out ways to improve. Chiron basically shows you your deepest wound, or where you feel that you've been really hurt or damaged or broken in some way due to feelings of lack, inadequacy, rejection. But the key with Chiron is actually being able to identify and become aware of this very wound in other people. And by becoming aware of this wound in other people, not only can you help other people, you in turn can help yourself. For example, I'm going to try and use this in a practical way. Maybe you have Chiron in Libra, or maybe you have even Chiron in your 7th house, and you've been deeply hurt before by a previous lover or partner. So what you can do then from that is you can lend a sort of helping, healing hand in your way by reaching out to that person and opening a line of communication with that person and talking about their experience. And then you can also, of course, share your experience with that previous lover or partner that you were with that hurt you as well. And what this does essentially is it shows that other person that they're not alone, you know, they're not alone in that wound or that pain or that hurt that they experienced. Or let's say, for example, you have Chiron in the sign of Scorpio and you've been deeply hurt before by the death of a loved one. Then what you can do is you can identify that same wound in someone else who's going through a potential death, or maybe they're just grieving, you know, they're really going through that stage of their lives. So you can then in turn lend them a helping hand and just really be like, hey, I'm here for you if you need to talk to me. You know, what do you need? What can I do for you? And this right here is what makes Chiron known as the wounded healer, because Chiron represents mending and healing of wounds. It seeks to figure out and solve problems. It seeks to remove that which is toxic to the system. Ultimately, Chiron signifies how you fix and mend others, not only in a way that serves them, but also serves yourself. And if you really think about this, well, this makes sense, because let's say, for example, right, you have Chiron in Virgo, or you have Chiron in your 6th house, and you've maybe suffered from an eating disorder before in some sort of way throughout your life, but then you go on to actually help others with eating disorders by maybe sharing your own experiences, by maybe being part of a certain organization that deals with these things, or by just relating in some way with other people with eating disorders. Well, that then helps both of you, because you realize that neither of you are alone in your situation. And knowing that in itself can actually be quite healing. Now, if we are actually to add in the houses, okay, whichever house then Chiron is in is going to add more layers to your Chiron placement as to how that sign is going to play out within your life. So for example, someone with Chiron in Leo in the 4th house, they might experience a deep wound associated with how they were treated within the home or by their family. Perhaps their family made them feel like they weren't very special, like they weren't very worthy of their time. Maybe they didn't really give them much attention or focus, or maybe they just didn't really feel like they did their family proud growing up. Another example, someone with Chiron in Virgo in the 9th house. They might experience a deep wound associated with insecurities or criticisms when it comes to university, or when it comes to them furthering their knowledge in general. Then again, this could be a person that's quite critical towards other people's perceptions of God after feeling like they themselves have been let down by God or a higher power during some stage of their lives. When it comes then to the 6th house, so looking at the 6th house ruler within your natal birth chart, well, what we notice is that the 6th house can provide an indication into the ways in which you perform your day-to-day tasks and duties. So really looking at this area of your life that is focused on productivity. So addressing things like having a shower, brushing your teeth, preparing meals, and so on. So in this way, the sign that rules your 6th house, it can provide an indication into, well, your daily routine. Furthermore, the 6th house can represent how you support your lifestyle by working. So how do you deal with employment? How do you deal with the workforce? How do you interact with your co-workers? However, not only does the 6th house represent your employment, but also the employment of others. And this is what makes the 6th house the house of service. So for example, when it comes to protection services, looking at the likes of security, emergency services, but then also when it comes to the likes of repair services, so looking at the likes of mechanics and electricians, your 6th house ruler just might show you how you approach different types of services overall. For example, if you have Aries ruling your 6th house, you might approach these things instantly. Or if you have the sign of Libra ruling your 6th house, you might approach these things pretty fairly and impartially. And it can also represent how you interact with your household pets and small animals. So potentially looking at even the type of pet that you own. You know, if you've got Capricorn in your 6th house, you might decide, you know what, a pet is not for me because I'm always working, I'm always busy, I'm always out of the house. How can I have a pet? The 6th house also can represent the type of diet that you consume or how you approach nutrition and diet. For example, if you have Gemini ruling your 6th house, you might have an inconsistent diet, or your diet just might be full of variety. Or if you have the sign of Sagittarius ruling your 6th house, you may not pay attention to your limits when it comes to your diet, or you just might have a diet that reflects your morals and ethics. And lastly, the 6th house ruler can represent how you maintain and attend to your health and overall well-being. So it can show you even the types of healers or doctors that you prefer to visit. For example, if you've got Pisces on the 6th, you might prefer to heal yourself through spiritual measures, whilst having Virgo on the 6th, you might prefer to heal yourself through the likes of food and eating well. Now, I have talked before in a previous series that I made about 2 years ago. Okay, I was looking at the physical appearance and health of the zodiac signs, which looking back, I'm like, why did I put those together in one video? What was I thinking? I should have done the physical appearance and then done health separately. But anyway, I digress. Within that series, I talked about how the 6th house can also represent potential health conditions to be aware of. I did not go into super detail, but this does make sense, seeing as the 6th house is the house of health. This does not mean that you will 100% experience these health implications or conditions. However, your 6th house ruler, along with planets in the 6th house as well, those things can show you what you might be prone to experiencing if not managing your health efficiently. For example, if you've got Leo ruling the 6th house, you might experience irregular heartbeats due to anxieties associated with work. Or if you have the sign of Aquarius ruling your 6th house, you might experience varicose veins due to standing for long periods of time during work. Naturally, I am basing these things on the body parts that each sign rules within astrology. Overall, it is the sign of Virgo that signifies how we analyze and use discrimination in our decision-making process, and it's these things that can then manifest into whichever house or area of life that Virgo rules within your natal birth chart. It is then Chiron that can show you how, as well as where, you have experienced a sort of deep wound that you can then mend or heal by attending to the similar wound found in others. And lastly, it is the 6th house ruler within your birth chart that can show you how you attend to your day-to-day responsibilities and duties and tasks, as well as your health, your working life, your nutrition, and pets. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes the very long introduction video to Virgo. So looking at your Virgo house, looking at Chiron, and looking at your 6th house. Now, if you do have any thoughts and opinions on today's video, then please be sure to let us know in the comment section, along with your placements, remember? But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click the subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!